A single mom cleaned the Millionaire CEO's offices until she found the letter her daughter wrote. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where a simple act of kindness turned into something far bigger than you ever imagined? Well, let's find out what happens in this one. As Emma stood there in Liam Parker's office, a rush of emotions filled her. She had never expected something as simple as cleaning an office would lead to such a dramatic change in her life. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to compose herself. She had just met Liam, the CEO of one of the most powerful tech companies in the city. The man she had cleaned for, the man she had never even dreamed of crossing paths with, and now here he was, standing in front of her, a little too close for comfort, with a warmth in his eyes that seemed so out of place in a CEO's world. "Thank you for your hard work," he said, his voice soft but sincere. Emma could hardly believe what she was hearing. In her world, people like Liam rarely acknowledged the little people, especially not someone like her, a single mother just trying to get by. "No one else notices the little things," he added, as if reading her thoughts. Emma blinked, trying to process his words. "I appreciate it." "Really," he said, his smile now more genuine than she had expected. Her stomach flipped. Was he just being polite, or was there something more to it? She had no time to dwell on it because Liam's phone buzzed, pulling him back to the present. "I have to run, but I'll see you around," he said, giving her a polite nod before heading out of the room. As the door clicked shut behind him, Emma let out the breath she hadn't realized she was holding. What had just happened? It felt surreal. 1 minute she was just doing her job, and the next she had a conversation with the CEO of the company. She shook her head, trying to shake off the confusion. She couldn't afford to get distracted. She had a life to get back to. But as she continued cleaning the office, something kept nagging at her. She thought about the letter. Her daughter, Mia's letter, which had somehow found its way into this high-powered office, a letter full of love and hope that she had never intended anyone else to read. What if that letter was a sign? Maybe this encounter wasn't just a coincidence. Maybe it was a sign that something bigger was on the horizon. Emma didn't believe in fate. Not really. But she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just shifted. It had been years since she'd felt like anything good could happen to her. She finished her work and walked out of the building, her mind racing. She had promised herself she wouldn't get her hopes up, but something inside her had sparked. The next day, when she returned to clean the office again, she couldn't help but wonder if she would run into Liam. She had thought about him a lot after their brief interaction. Maybe it was the way he had looked at her, or maybe it was just the fact that a man like him had taken a moment to recognize her. Either way, she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was more to this than just a chance meeting. When she walked into the office, she wasn't sure what to expect. But there, sitting at his desk, was Liam, typing away at his computer. She paused for a second, surprised to see him so focused. He looked up when he noticed her, his face softening slightly. "Emma," he greeted her, his voice warm. "Back again, huh?" She managed a nervous smile. "I'm afraid so, sir," she replied, trying to keep her tone light. "Just finishing up my rounds." "Well, let me help you with that," Liam said, standing up and moving toward the door. Emma blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" "I've been thinking," Liam said as he walked toward her. "I know how hard you work. I see you every time I'm here. And I don't know if you've ever been told, but your efforts don't go unnoticed." Emma froze. She didn't know how to respond. This was beyond anything she could have imagined. Liam Parker, the man who controlled millions of dollars, was thanking her for cleaning his office. She had to be dreaming, but it was real. She stood there, unsure of what to do or say, as Liam continued. "I want to offer you something," he said, his tone more serious now. Emma's heart skipped a beat. "What?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam gave her a thoughtful look. "I'm starting a new initiative at the company, something to give back to the community, and I think you might be the perfect person to help lead it." Emma's eyes widened. Lead? A part of her wanted to say no, to remind herself that she wasn't qualified. that she didn't belong in this world. But then she remembered Mia's letter, the one her daughter had written with so much hope. She had to think about this. She couldn't let the opportunity slip by. "I'll think about it," she said, finally finding her voice. Liam nodded, giving her a reassuring smile. "Take all the time you need," he said, "but just know that you have the potential to do something incredible." Emma left the office that day with her mind reeling. Could this really be happening? Could someone like her really have a chance at something more? It felt like a dream, but she couldn't ignore the pull in her chest. For the first time in years, Emma felt like she was on the cusp of something big. The following days passed in a blur for Emma, the uncertainty swirling in her mind as she couldn't stop thinking about Liam's offer. It was all too much for her to process. One moment, she was simply a single mother working to get by, and the next, she was being offered an opportunity by the CEO of a tech giant. She had spent years burying her dreams deep down, thinking they were out of reach. Now, here was a chance to change her life. But could she really take it? Could she really step into a world so far from her own? After a restless night of tossing and turning, Emma decided to take Liam up on his offer. She couldn't keep ignoring the pull inside her. She owed it to herself, and to Mia, to at least try. The next morning, she arrived early at the office, her hands trembling as she entered the building. The clean marble floors gleamed under the bright lights, a stark contrast to the dusty old apartment she called home. She took a deep breath and walked toward the elevators, her heart pounding in her chest. As the elevator doors opened to the top floor, she stepped out into a lobby that could have been straight out of a luxury magazine. The sleek modern design was impressive, yet it felt alien to her. She had never been in a place like this before. "You made it." Liam's voice broke through her thoughts as he greeted her. He stood in the middle of the expansive lobby, his expression welcoming. "Welcome to the team, Emma." Emma smiled, but the nerves were still there. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft. She felt a surge of emotion, overwhelmed by the kindness he had shown her. Liam led her through the office, introducing her to a few key people along the way. Everyone seemed so polished, so put together. Emma could barely contain her anxiety, but she tried her best to hold it together. This wasn't just a cleaning job anymore. She was stepping into something bigger. As they reached the conference room, Liam gestured for her to take a seat. "This is where we'll be working on the new community initiative," he said. "It's going to be a project that gives back to people who need it the most. I want you to be a part of it." Emma nodded, her mind racing. She hadn't expected to be part of something so meaningful, so impactful. She was used to being on the other side, working hard just to get by, but now she had the chance to make a real difference. "What exactly do you need from me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, clearly pleased with her question. "I need someone who understands the struggles, someone who knows what it's like to fight every day. You've shown me that with your dedication to your work. We're going to focus on providing support to single parents and people who are struggling to make ends meet. You can help shape this project, bring your perspective to it." Emma could hardly believe what she was hearing. She had always dreamed of doing something bigger, something that could make a difference. But could she really do it? Could she really be a part of something this important? The thought of failing terrified her. She felt the weight of the responsibility settle in her chest. But as she looked at Liam, standing before her with genuine belief in her abilities, something inside her began to shift. She had always doubted herself, always thought she wasn't enough. But maybe, just maybe, she was exactly what this project needed. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. Liam's eyes lit up with a mixture of surprise and pride. "I knew you would," he said, a hint of a smile on his face. Emma took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She had made her decision. There was no turning back now. As the meeting wrapped up, Liam walked her to the elevator. "I'm really glad you decided to join us," he said. "You're going to do great things here, Emma." "Thank you," she replied, her voice soft but full of gratitude. "I won't let you down." As the elevator doors closed, Emma took a deep breath, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. This was just the beginning. She had no idea where this journey would take her, but for the first time in years, she felt like she was on the right path. She was about to step into a new world, one where her dreams could actually become a reality. And with Liam's support, maybe she could finally give Mia the life she had always wanted for her. Emma couldn't shake the feeling of disbelief as the days passed since her meeting with Liam. She was still adjusting to the idea that she had stepped into a completely different world, one where people like her ordinary, hardworking individuals could make a real difference. The office felt so alien, but at the same time, she felt a strange sense of belonging. She had no real qualifications for the role Liam had offered, but somehow, his faith in her had lit a fire inside her that she had not felt in years. She was determined to prove him right, to prove that she could do this. The first few days were overwhelming. Emma spent long hours at the office, working on the new community initiative. She was surrounded by professionals, many of whom had years of experience in the nonprofit sector, and at first, she felt like a fish out of water. But as the days went by, she began to find her footing. She wasn't just the cleaning lady anymore. She was a part of something bigger. She was helping to create something that would have a lasting impact on the lives of people who needed it the most. As the project progressed, Emma found herself growing more confident. She worked closely with Liam, who continued to mentor her and offer guidance. Despite his busy schedule, Liam always made time to check in on her progress and give her feedback. His support was unwavering, and it made all the difference. One afternoon, as Emma sat in a meeting discussing the next steps for the initiative, Liam pulled her aside. "You're doing great, Emma," he said, his voice sincere. "You've brought so much to this project already. Your ideas, your perspective, they're invaluable." Emma's heart swelled with pride. She had never been praised like this before. The weight of the compliment was almost too much for her to process. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance." Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "No, Emma, you did this. You showed up every day, you worked hard, and you believed in yourself. That's what made the difference." His words stayed with her long after the meeting ended. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she had something to be proud of. She was making a real difference, not just for herself, but for her daughter Mia as well. The initiative was gaining momentum, and soon, they were ready to launch the first phase. Liam had arranged a large event to celebrate, bringing together all the key stakeholders, including several high-profile donors who had agreed to support the cause. Emma was nervous. She had never been to an event like this, let alone been the center of attention. She had always kept to the background, never wanting to draw attention to herself. But now, she was going to be standing in the spotlight, representing everything she had worked for. The day of the event arrived, and Emma stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her dress. She had chosen something simple but elegant, wanting to blend in, but at the same time, she felt like this moment called for something more. She wanted to show everyone that she belonged here, that she was part of this world. As she walked into the event, her heart raced. The room was filled with influential people, many of whom she had only seen on television or read about in the news. Liam greeted her with a warm smile. "You look incredible," he said, his voice full of admiration. Emma smiled, but she couldn't help but feel a bit out of place. She was used to being invisible, to working behind the scenes. Now, she was standing in front of some of the most powerful people in the city, and for a moment, she felt like she might crumble under the pressure. But Liam was there, offering her silent support. As the event went on, Emma found herself talking to people, engaging with the donors, and sharing her vision for the project. She spoke with passion, telling them about the impact it could have on families like hers, about the people who were struggling every day just to make ends meet. By the end of the night, Emma had made a connection with several key supporters, and Liam was beaming with pride. "You did it," he said to her, as they stood together in the corner of the room. "You're not just part of this project, Emma. You're leading it." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She had come so far from where she had started. She wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was a woman with purpose, with a mission. She had found her place in this world, and it felt like the first step toward the future she had always dreamed of. "Thank you, Liam," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you." Liam placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Emma. You believed in yourself, and that's the most important part." As Emma looked around the room, her heart swelled with gratitude. This was just the beginning, and she knew that with Liam's support and her own determination, she could do anything. As Emma continued to work on the community initiative, she found herself stepping further out of her comfort zone. The project was growing faster than she had ever imagined, and with each passing day, her confidence grew. She was no longer just the woman cleaning the office. She was the one helping shape the future for families who were struggling just like hers had. But with the progress came new challenges. There were moments of self-doubt, times when Emma wondered if she was truly capable of leading this project. She had no formal education in business or nonprofit work. She had just always worked hard to provide for her daughter. But with Liam's constant support, she began to realize that what mattered most was her heart and her passion for helping others. One morning, as Emma was sitting in the conference room reviewing the project's progress, Liam walked in, his usual calm demeanor now mixed with excitement. "We've got some good news," he said, his eyes sparkling. "The first phase of the project is getting national attention. I just got off the phone with a reporter from one of the biggest news outlets in the country. They want to feature us in an article." Emma's heart skipped a beat. National attention? She hadn't expected it to get this big, this fast. "That's amazing," she exclaimed, feeling a rush of pride. Liam smiled. "It's all because of your hard work, Emma. You've really made this happen." Emma shook her head in disbelief. "I'm just one person. I can't take all the credit." Liam placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze unwavering. "You're the one who started this. You're the one who believed in it when no one else did." As the article was published and the news spread, the project continued to gain momentum. People from all over the country began reaching out, eager to get involved and support the cause. Emma had become the face of the initiative, and with every new opportunity, she felt the weight of responsibility grow heavier. But she also felt something else, a pride. She was making a real difference, not just for herself, but for people who needed a chance. As Emma and Liam stood together at a press conference a few weeks later, she couldn't help but think back to where she had started. She had never imagined that this is where she would be. A year ago, she was struggling just to pay her rent, and now she was standing in front of a room full of reporters, speaking about a cause she believed in with all her heart. Liam stood beside her, offering his silent support. As she spoke, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude. "I used to think that my dreams were impossible," she said, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "But now, I see that anything is possible when you work hard and believe in yourself. I never thought I would be standing here today, but I am because of the support I've had from people like Liam and all of you who believe in what we're doing." The room was silent for a moment, and then a round of applause broke out. Emma smiled, feeling a rush of emotions. This was her moment, her time to shine, and she had earned it. As the press conference came to an end, Liam approached her, his eyes filled with pride. "You did great, Emma," he said, his voice full of admiration. "You're not just leading this project. You've changed lives, including your own." Emma felt her throat tighten, and for a moment, she couldn't find the words to respond. Instead, she simply nodded, her heart full of gratitude. She had come so far from the woman who had once doubted herself, and now she was stronger, more confident, and more determined than ever. That night, as Emma lay in bed, she thought about everything that had happened. She thought about the first day she walked into the office, unsure of herself, unsure of what the future held. And now, she was leading a movement that was changing lives. She was living the life she had always dreamed of, but it wasn't just about her. It was about Mia, too. She had shown her daughter that anything was possible, that hard work and determination could break through even the toughest obstacles. As Emma closed her eyes, a smile tugged at the corners of her lips. She knew the journey wasn't over. There were still many challenges ahead, but she was ready for them. With Liam by her side and her own strength guiding her, Emma knew that there was no limit to what she could achieve. This was just the beginning. As Emma's life continued to unfold in ways she had never imagined, she found herself looking back at how far she had come. A year ago, she was a woman struggling to make ends meet, cleaning offices and barely getting by. But now, she was leading a movement that was changing lives. She had found her voice, and with it, her purpose. The community initiative was growing every day, and Emma had become a beacon of hope for so many who had faced the same hardships she had. People from all walks of life reached out to her, sharing their stories and their dreams, inspired by what she had accomplished. Emma couldn't help but feel a deep sense of fulfillment every time she heard one of those stories. She had given people a platform, a chance to make a difference, just as she had been given. But with success came new challenges. The demands of the initiative were growing, and Emma often found herself working late into the night, balancing meetings, phone calls, and paperwork. At times, she felt overwhelmed. There were moments when she wondered if she could keep up with the pace, but then she thought about Mia, about how far they had come together. She couldn't give up now. She had worked too hard, and she had too much to give. One evening, as Emma sat at her desk in the office, staring at a pile of reports, Liam walked in. His presence was always a welcome sight, and tonight was no different. "How's everything going?" he asked, his voice gentle as he leaned against the doorframe. Emma looked up, a tired smile on her face. "It's going, but there's always something else to do. I'm just trying to keep up." Liam walked over and sat down across from her. "I can see that. You're doing amazing work, but you don't have to do it all on your own, you know." Emma sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I know, but I feel like I have to. This means so much to me, to everyone who's depending on it. I don't want to let anyone down." Liam smiled softly, his eyes filled with understanding. "Emma, you're not alone in this. You have a team, and you have me. We're in this together. Don't forget that." His words hit her harder than she expected. She had become so focused on the work, so determined to make the project a success, that she had forgotten the importance of the people who were supporting her along the way. It wasn't just her efforts that had made this happen. It was the help and support of others, including Liam. She had learned to lean on him, not just for professional guidance, but for emotional support as well. "Thank you, Liam," she said quietly. "I don't say it enough, but I appreciate everything you've done for me. You've believed in me from the very beginning." Liam shook his head. "You've done this, Emma. I just helped you see what you're capable of." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The project was about to expand even further, with new partners coming on board and more resources being allocated to the cause. Emma's role had shifted from a team member to a leader, and she was starting to see the full impact of her work. She was making decisions that would affect thousands of people, and it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. But with Liam by her side, she felt more confident in her ability to lead. Together, they navigated the complexities of running a large-scale initiative, and with every hurdle they overcame, Emma's belief in herself grew stronger. One afternoon, as Emma was wrapping up a meeting with some potential sponsors, Liam took her aside. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small box. Emma looked at him curiously as she opened it to find a beautiful pendant inside. A delicate silver necklace, with a charm that resembled a tree. "What's this?" she asked, her voice soft. Liam smiled. "It's a symbol of growth. You've grown so much this past year, Emma. Not just professionally, but personally. You've changed so many lives, including your own. I wanted to give you something to remind you of that." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She had never expected anything like this. The necklace was beautiful, but the meaning behind it was even more powerful. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I'll wear it every day." As she left the office that evening, the pendant resting against her chest, Emma couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. She had started this journey uncertain of her place in the world, but now she was a leader, a woman who had created something that would continue to help others for years to come. She had found her purpose, and in doing so, she had found herself. And as she looked up at the stars that night, Emma knew that no matter what came next, she was ready. She had everything she needed to face the future with strength, with grace, and with the unwavering belief that she could make a difference. As the months passed, Emma's life continued to evolve in ways she never imagined. The initiative was flourishing, with more resources coming in and new partnerships forming. She was no longer just a participant. She was the driving force behind the project, making decisions that affected the lives of thousands. However, as the pressure mounted, Emma began to feel the weight of responsibility bearing down on her. It wasn't just about the initiative anymore. It was about proving that she could lead, that she was worthy of the trust that had been placed in her. The early days had been filled with excitement and adrenaline, but now the challenges seemed endless. There were board meetings, fundraising events, and constant demands from donors and partners. Emma had always been someone who worked tirelessly, but even she couldn't ignore the toll it was taking on her. Late nights in the office had become the norm, and her personal life had taken a back seat. She hadn't seen Mia as much as she would have liked, and her relationship with Liam had started to feel strained, despite their professional bond growing stronger. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Emma sat alone in the conference room, staring out the window at the city lights. She had worked so hard, but lately, it felt like she was losing herself in the process. She missed the simple moments with Mia, the laughter and the quiet evenings at home. It wasn't just about the work anymore. It was about finding balance. Just then, Liam walked into the room, his usual calm demeanor replaced with concern. "Emma," he said, his voice soft, "you've been working nonstop. You need to take a break." Emma looked at him, surprised. "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice lacked conviction. Liam sat down across from her, his eyes studying her with care. No, you're not. You've been giving everything to this project, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Emma looked down at her hands, the weight of his words sinking in. She had always been someone who put others first, but now she was neglecting herself. I just want to make sure everything works out, she said quietly. I can't let anyone down. Liam leaned forward, his voice steady. You won't let anyone down, Emma, but you have to take care of yourself first. You've come so far, but you can't keep going like this. You need to rest, to reconnect with what matters most. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She knew he was right, but she didn't know how to stop. She had poured everything into this project, into proving to herself and to others that she was capable. But now, it was costing her more than she was willing to admit. I don't know how to let go, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Liam's expression softened. You don't have to do everything on your own. You've built something incredible here, and now it's time to take a step back and let others help. For the first time in weeks, Emma felt the tension in her shoulders ease. She had been holding on so tightly, afraid that if she let go, everything would fall apart. But Liam was right. She didn't have to do it all alone. The next day, Emma took a step back. She delegated tasks, trusted her team, and allowed herself the time to focus on what really mattered. She spent more time with Mia, enjoying the small moments that she had been missing. The time away from the office gave her a new perspective on her work. She realized that while the project was important, it wasn't everything. She didn't have to sacrifice her happiness to make a difference. Slowly but surely, Emma found her balance. She returned to work with a renewed sense of purpose. But this time, she knew that taking care of herself was just as important as the work she was doing. As she sat in another meeting with Liam, her heart was lighter. Thank you, she said, her voice full of gratitude, for reminding me of what really matters. Liam smiled warmly, his pride in her evident. You did it, Emma. You found your balance. And now, you're ready to take this to even greater heights. Emma smiled back, knowing that she had come a long way. She had found her purpose, but she had also learned to take care of herself along the way. With Liam's support and the strength she had discovered within herself, there was nothing she couldn't do. As the months continued to pass, Emma found herself becoming more comfortable in her new role, balancing both her professional and personal life with a newfound sense of confidence. The community initiative was thriving, reaching new milestones, and gaining more recognition from people who believed in the cause. It was no longer just about running a project. It had become her passion, her mission to make a real difference in the lives of others. But with success came new challenges. The pressure was mounting, and there were moments when Emma still felt like she was walking a tightrope, trying to balance everything while keeping her head above water. The weight of the responsibility sometimes felt overwhelming, especially when things didn't go as planned. However, Emma had learned to trust herself and her team. She was no longer afraid to ask for help or lean on the people who had supported her from the start. One particular day, after a particularly long meeting with potential investors, Emma found herself in Liam's office, feeling drained. She had just been discussing future funding, budgets, and the next phase of the project, and it all seemed like too much to handle at once. Liam, sensing her exhaustion, gestured for her to sit down. You've been working non-stop, Emma. You need to take a break, he said, his voice gentle but firm. Emma shook her head, a tired smile on her lips. I wish I could, but there's just so much to do. Liam raised an eyebrow, his expression softening. I get it, but you've got to take care of yourself too. You're no good to anyone if you burn out. Emma paused, her mind racing. She knew he was right, but it wasn't easy to step back. It felt like there was always something else that needed her attention. I just feel like if I slow down, everything will fall apart, she admitted, her voice quieter now. Liam leaned forward, his eyes locking with hers. You've already built something incredible, Emma. You don't have to do everything yourself. You've got a team, and you've earned their trust. Let them help carry the load. For a moment, Emma just stared at him, processing his words. He was right. She had surrounded herself with a team of talented, dedicated people who believed in the cause as much as she did. She had built this from the ground up, but that didn't mean she had to shoulder every responsibility alone. With a deep breath, Emma nodded. I'll try to let go a little more, she said softly. Liam smiled, clearly pleased. Good. Remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly. It's okay to take a step back and let others step up. As the days went by, Emma began to take Liam's advice to heart. She trusted her team more, delegated tasks, and allowed herself moments of rest without feeling guilty. It was a difficult transition, but with time, she found herself becoming more at ease. She started taking weekends off to spend with Mia, enjoying the simple pleasures of being a mother. They would go to the park, bake cookies, and talk about their dreams for the future. It was a reminder that no matter how much success she found in her career, her family was what mattered most. One Saturday afternoon, while they were sitting together in the park, Mia looked up at her and said, "Mom, I'm so proud of you." Emma's heart swelled. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Mia smiled, her eyes sparkling. "You've helped so many people. You've shown me that anything is possible if you work hard enough. I want to be just like you when I grow up." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she pulled her daughter into a hug. "You can be anything you want, Mia," she whispered. "Just remember to always follow your heart." That moment, sitting in the park with her daughter, reminded Emma of everything she had worked for. The initiative, the long hours, the challenges, they had all been worth it to see her daughter believe in her. But more importantly, Emma had learned to believe in herself too. As she returned to work with renewed energy, the initiative continued to flourish. The support from the community grew stronger, and more families were benefiting from the resources they were providing. Emma had become not just a leader, but a symbol of what was possible when you followed your dreams and never gave up. Liam continued to be a steady presence in her life, offering support and encouragement when she needed it most. They had become more than just colleagues. They had become friends, confidants. He had always believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself, and for that, Emma would be forever grateful. As she stood in front of the crowd at the next charity event, her heart swelled with pride. The initiative had raised more funds than they had ever anticipated, and the impact was being felt across the community. Emma looked around the room, her gaze landing on Mia, who was standing by her side. It was a moment she would never forget, a moment that reminded her why she had started this journey in the first place. "We've come a long way," Liam said, his voice filled with pride as he joined her on stage. "But this is just the beginning." Emma smiled, her heart full. She had found her purpose, her balance, and most importantly, she had found the strength to continue. The journey was far from over, but now, she knew she could face anything that came her way. As the months passed, Emma found herself standing at the pinnacle of a journey she never expected to take. The initiative had grown far beyond what she had ever imagined. What had started as a small community project was now a nationwide movement, helping families all over the country. She had not only built something incredible, but she had also learned more about herself than she ever thought possible. Her confidence had grown, her sense of purpose had deepened, and her belief in her own worth was stronger than ever. But there was still one more thing Emma needed to prove to herself. She stood in the office, looking out at the city skyline through the large windows. It was a crisp morning, and the sun was just starting to rise, casting a warm glow over the buildings below. It was a moment of peace, a moment to reflect on everything she had accomplished. In the distance, she could see the park where she and Mia had spent so many afternoons, and it reminded her of how far they had come. She thought about her daughter, who was growing up so quickly. Mia had always been her reason for everything, the driving force behind her determination to succeed. And now, Emma had finally created the life she had always dreamed of for them both. The phone on her desk buzzed, snapping Emma out of her thoughts. It was Liam, as usual, checking in on the progress of the next phase of the project. "How's everything going, Emma?" he asked, his voice calm and steady as always. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "It's going well. We've hit another milestone, and I think we're on track to do even more." Liam's voice brightened. "That's great to hear. I knew you had it in you." Emma chuckled softly. "You've always believed in me. I'm starting to believe in myself, too." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line before Liam spoke again. "You've come a long way, Emma. I remember when we first met. You were uncertain, unsure if you could even take on this kind of responsibility. And now look at you. You're a leader. Someone who's changing lives." Emma's heart swelled with pride, but she knew that none of this would have been possible without Liam's support. "I couldn't have done it without you, Liam," she said, her voice soft but full of gratitude. "You helped me believe that I could do more than just survive. You showed me that I could actually thrive." Liam laughed gently. "You did the work, Emma. I just gave you a little push in the right direction." "I know," Emma replied, smiling. "But sometimes it just takes someone else believing in you to help you see your own potential." She paused for a moment, reflecting on how far she had come. "I've learned a lot over the past year, not just about leading a project, but about myself. I've learned that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to lean on others when you need it, and that taking care of yourself is just as important as the work you're doing. Liam's voice softened. I'm proud of you, Emma. You've built something amazing, and you've done it with heart and dedication. That's what makes you different. Emma felt a lump in her throat as she thought about everything they had accomplished together. Thank you, Liam, she whispered. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. As the call ended, Emma sat back in her chair, looking out at the city once again. The future was bright, and she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. She had built something real, something that would continue to make a difference for years to come. But more importantly, she had found a sense of peace, a sense of balance. She had learned to trust herself, to believe in her own strength, and to know that she didn't have to do everything alone. Emma smiled as she thought about Mia. Her daughter was her heart, and with all she had accomplished, Emma was finally able to give her the life she had always dreamed of. Together, they had made it through the toughest times, and now they were standing on the other side, stronger than ever. Emma was no longer just the woman cleaning offices. She was a leader, a woman who had changed her own life and the lives of so many others. And with each step forward, she knew that her journey had only just begun.